Hey there, and welcome to the Think Fitness Life podcast. We're fueled by the incredible clients who inspire us every day, allowing us to elevate their health and fitness journeys. On this show, you'll gain valuable insights from top professionals, hear inspiring transformation stories, and discover the knowledge and motivation to create your own best life. Let's dive in. As someone who has continuously used therapy as a way to heal and elevate my personal performance, I know wholeheartedly that you cannot always read the label when you're in the jar. And that's why it's so helpful to have a professional in your corner to talk to. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp to provide our listeners with the opportunity to work with a licensed therapist from the comfort of your own home. Receive 10% off your first month when you sign up by going to betterhelp.com/TFL. That's betterhelp.com/T as in think, F as in fitness, L as in life. And remember, you're not alone. There are people out there who can help.
So when I read the first line, when they came through, your former police officer, hostage negotiator, I was like, oh, where is this going to go? Not really knowing that there's fitness behind it. But then when I scroll down, talking about the all or nothing, but split second decisions. Tell me a little bit about your passion for what started your career and then where you are now with, yes, hard work works, but you're talking about resiliency.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right. I mean, when it comes to fitness, can't say that a career started because for as long as I can remember, it's been my passion. I used to get in trouble for, I won't say stealing because I was a cop. I'll say borrowing my dad's muscle and fitness magazines. When they showed up in the mailbox before he even got them, I already had it stashed away in my room. I could read everything. I've always loved fitness. I remember being small that I had to go to the childcare, watching my dad through the glass as he worked out at an LA Fitness in Sacramento back in 1988. But that being said, it's always been a constant in everything that I've done. I've had a few different careers here and there, but specifically as law enforcement, it really started to shine through with regard to, you said, the all or none mentality and the split second decisions. Law enforcement is a particularly unique employment. It's shift work, man. You are odd hours, odd lengths of shift, odd times off in between, and it just wreaks havoc on your body. At the same time, it's such a physically demanding profession that you have to be in tip-top shape. What ends up happening on the all or none side is there's guys that they really go hard on being in shape while at the same time going hard at, picking up some overtime, working their shifts, and they end up burning the candle on both ends, which ends up with an injury, something small that happens that gets in the way, something that takes them out of the game. With regard to the split second decisions, we learned all the time that you don't rise to the level of the moment, you drop to the level of your training. Wherever your training's at, however much you train, you could actually probably expect to be about 70% of whatever that is. If you are constantly keeping up with your marksmanship, when that critical moment hits, you might get a shot on target. If you're constantly keeping up with your negotiation skills, when that time hits, you may be able to negotiate a situation. When you're constantly keeping up with your emotional health, your emotional wellness, then when crisis hits, you're more resilient and able to handle it. But it's what I saw and what really made me turn away from law enforcement as a career and to jump into this full time was seeing how many of my coworkers, my friends, my brothers and sisters in blue, and firefighters were taken off the street prematurely through no choice of their own because of things that I could clearly see were burning the candle on both ends and not training for that resilient situation in the future. That makes sense?
Oh yeah. Is that something that they are implementing in training nowadays in law enforcement, that the work on the mental capacity and making decisions? Because that was one thing that really, when your stuff got sent over, stood out to me, because I'm training a lot of athletes and younger kids, and there seems to be this ongoing issue nowadays that people can't make these split second decisions. They can't choose. And it might seem very simple things, whether to do one thing or the other. And they kind of get stuck in the thinking of, well, what if? What kind of drove that for you? Because that's a very specific, narrow street when you're talking split second decision, because you have to really hone in your mental mindset to that. And I love that.
Dude, it really comes down to, I was saying, it's the training. It really is the training. If you don't put in the time beforehand to be ready when that moment hits, then you can't get it. I think that's an issue. I mean, we're not, this isn't that type of podcast, so we're not going to go politics with it, but I think that's an issue nationwide with law enforcement as a profession, is that too often, let me backtrack for a second. We put a lot of rounds downrange, training to be accurate with our firearm. I shot my mouth way more times than I ever shot my gun on duty. And even though at my department, we did train, it was a concerted effort. I feel like my department was ahead of the curve when it came to that. I was in California, progressive state, in the Bay Area, progressive area, and working for a police department that had quite a few tech headquartered in our city. These guys were really on the forefront of progressive training, really on the forefront of emotional wealth training as it feeds into resilience. And for example, there's California standards, police officer standards and training, that say how much everybody has to train in order to maintain their California police officer certification. My department doubled that as the baseline. Make sure that we were trained more often than the minimum of what we needed to be, that when those moments arise, we can handle them away. I say split second decisions, and that's a great conversation point, but a better way to think about it is unconscious motor programming. It's almost a motor pattern. You get out of the car and you're confronted with a situation that requires a split second decision, and you have run through those scenarios before. You've thought about that before. Even though every single situation is unique and different, kind of game planned out the different ways that this can go. As a result, when it comes time to make a decision, having that preparation, having that training already done, you're able to commit to a decision, wrong or indifferent. You also don't have time to second guess. You got to go with it. If it's wrong, we'll clean it up down the road, but you need to make a choice. The only wrong choice is no choice.
In your training, what would that look for the law enforcement side? What kind of exercises or tactics would they kind of use to challenge you guys to become better unconscious motor pattern?
Oh man, so that depends. I think that depends on which part of it you're stationed in. The SWAT guys, they do their SWAT training regularly. They do their thing. They don't have to worry about what they're going to do when they kick in a door and they get on the other side, because they've done it hundreds of times between the last time they were called out. As a hostage negotiator, same thing. We negotiated and we trained regularly, just like SWAT guys. We're having conversations. We would bring in we'd bring in civilians to be actors, to act out a scenario, and it's on us to get through that scenario. Then at the end, there's a debrief. Hey, you said this, you could have said this. Did you hear them say A? Did you hear them say B? That was a hook. This is a trigger. Let's figure out how we can next time identify those and work them a little bit. And you get to, you roll the tape back in your head. It's similar to being a professional athlete. You have to do the reps in practice, and then you have a game, and then you go back and you review the game footage and see how you can get even better.
Especially when it comes to mental reps. If you see that, or maybe I should say you hear that stuff for your way, and I would assume for you that one wrong word said in the wrong part of a sentence changes everything when it comes to what you did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then you don't know what that wrong word is going to be. All I know is I have someone in front of me that is in a crisis moment. They're not thinking correctly. The way that I used to think about it on duty is this may be a 35-year-old father of two standing in front of me that just worked a hard day, but he's acting a toddler, and he's got the mental processing capacity, the frontal lobe, the emotional control of a toddler. That's how we kind of got to go with that. But then if you think about it like a toddler, sometimes you just say the wrong word and it's tantrum time. That's okay. That's okay if we're talking, Danny Go or Miss Rachel. Is not okay if we're talking a life or death situation where somebody's threatening other people's safety.
I assume, were there a lot of times in training that you might have failed and learn from what you said wrong, how you structured saying things?
Failed, no. Made mistakes and learned and
Okay.
improved, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But fall forward. There were a lot of times that, yes, that's you want to iron out those kinks in training
Yeah.
as much as possible. So you don't get a do-over in the field.
That's where the more of those, the mental, or that you say bring in actors, the more you can pull in data from the scenarios and go over in your head and think, okay, what did I say here? How did I say it? Plays out into when you get into action. Because when you're on the line, when you work, that's it. There's nothing. It's not a football game where I get to do another play. It's that.
Yeah.
This is it.
Yeah. And there's no coach calling timeouts.
Mhm.
It's we're going. It's
In your head, when you go through this, kind of, I look at it similar lens to leadership. When you are talking to someone in a high threat, high autonomic driven, sympathetic state, are you kind of in your head thinking of your next 3 or 4 moves or 3 or 4 words you're going to say, and then kind of pulling back and seeing the different avenues each saying or word or whatever you're going to say is going to lead?
absolutely, without a doubt. As a matter of fact, so much that it's not a one-person job. There's always at least 2, usually 3, 4 if you got a really good team. One is the face-to-face, the conversation with the suspect, or excuse me, the person in crisis. One is the actual communication. The second, most important position is the coach. Coach's job is to be a second set of ears and taking notes about, hey, they said something, or hey, he mentioned that he went to this high school, or you said X and that got him mad. Don't say that again. And then they're taking notes and trying to slide those notes across the table to me so that I can do my job better.
And this has got to unfold. I mean, we're talking on the go within milliseconds.
Yeah.
That's how fascinating that our brains compute that quick.
Yeah.
But you said that unconscious motor programming, you can get your brain into these realms of training where you're going to make this decision because you've already outlined scenarios in your head in a millisecond forth. And for leadership, I assume for you kind of getting to the fitness world, that number one thing in leadership that carries over.
I would definitely say the leadership, the carryover, there's quite a lot that goes into physical fitness that directly carries over to leadership, and the training that happens for policing, the amount of work that you put in, and then how that shows up in the day-to-day, it was the exact carryover for me into the professional world. It's the same type of thing. These split-second decisions may not be life or death, but they might be involving millions of dollars. It might be the direction of your corporation. It might be the direction of your family. Just because it's not somebody in crisis holding a knife or a gun doesn't mean it's not as important of a decision to the person making that decision. And the ability to have, you said, the resilience that's built on the back of the training that we know that we did, I think carries directly over into the corporate world, just like it did over in law enforcement. It's the foundation that runs through.
Yeah, for sure. And it's all the leadership. When people hear leadership, I really think people think, okay, well, this person's going to lead me and direct me, where I kind of come from it more as a leader. How can that person see every scenario going on in corporate world? What are the conversations going to look? What are the, if people are not getting along, what are the avenues that this conversation could go versus this, and things aren't going along, and taking that almost that kind of that step back and seeing all the different plays that could happen, and then honing in on, okay, what's the best one for the best outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. Without a doubt.
And that's where I think for me, if a lot of leaders kind of miss that, or they're young in their fields or their careers, and they're saying, hey, I'm going to make this decision because this is what I think. And they don't see the 2 other avenues that are going to come out of it. That's what's cool about taking that kind of unconscious approach and saying, hey, I've seen this a couple times, or I played this out in my head. What could happen if this happens or that happens? And then applying it to people listening, individuals, because that's where people struggle to have this decisions, even if it's not life or death or on the line. It might just be a decision. Am I going to work out today at this time or that time? And they can't decide.
Exactly. I think it's the small things are symptomatic of the big things. If you can dial in how you can handle the big things, it can work its way back down toward the small. I just want to touch on, you said leadership. That speaks to me hard. I have to tell guys that I'm working with to think about 4 different types of leadership. And this isn't anything that I took from a class or a course anywhere. I'm not sure if I'm stealing anybody else's information. It may have been something I picked up on a read. But when I talk about it, I talk about leadership by example. That's one version. Leadership by fiat, which I think is what you were doing. Leadership by dictation. That's one where I think that's the the route that most guys end up taking and falling into. Leadership by example, leadership by dictator, leadership by committee, which is a little bit more, hey, what's everybody else doing? What's everybody else got going on? Well, and I'm drawing a blank on the third. Give me a moment.
Yeah, it'll come to you.
It'll come to me at an inopportune time.
So yeah, but let's break that down. You got four types. A leader by example first. What is that to you, and how do you see that from your experience as a negotiator?
I remember the 4th, leadership by presence.
There we go.
Which is leadership by example. Is, that's the guy that first in, last out. That's the guy that's there when the building opens and is doing all the work, the one that's in the gym. A good example of that would be, let's say Kobe, but not Kobe yelling at his teammates, Kobe that is there before anybody else is there. That's leadership. I'm giving you the example that this is the standard that I set for myself. And if you want to be around me, you're going to need to elevate to this standard that I'm setting the example of. I'm not telling you you have to be here at 4 a.m. I'm just showing you that's what champions do. That's leadership by example. Leadership by presence. Even though you're setting an example with your presence, I think that's different. I think that speaks more towards something that we talk about in law enforcement. It's called your command presence. And that's basically when you go up on a scene, what kind of energy do you bring to that scene? Now, they may not know whether I was there at 4 o'clock in the morning or an hour before my shift or 2 hours before my shift or whatnot. But when I walk into that room, what's the energy that I'm giving off? The energy that you give off it's built on top of it comes from a lot of things, mainly from the confidence in yourself, which comes from the training and the work that you had done before, which goes back to those motor patterns that we were talking about. That's what you say and how you lead when you don't say anything at all, just by being. Then we obviously have leadership by dictation, by a dictator, which we just talked about. It's going to be this way because that's what I think, and that's how it's going to be. Leadership by committee, it's going to be this way because that's what we all talked about and decided was the best.
With those, in your thought, I'm sure they're going to blend together. Which one do you think is the best, or the best to kind of have someone start to work on if they're wanting to be in a leadership role?
Oh, I think they work in a pyramid. Not a pyramid, they're a ladder and they stack on top of each other. I think first and foremost is leadership by example. That's the easiest, most self-contained one to work on. Let me work on myself and the things that I'm doing, regardless of what everyone else is doing. Let me work on the example that I'm setting. Next level above that, I think, is by committee. That's leadership by, let me ask around, let me get some other opinions and see what we're supposed to do, and we'll go from there. Next, I think, is leadership by fiat, the dictation. That is, I've asked around often enough to know more or less what's the way to go. I don't need to ask whether we're going left or at this intersection because we always go left, and I know that now. Right? That's the next level. That has to be built on top of the other ones. When that one comes first, we have problems. And then the final level would be leadership by presence, which is, I'm here, relax, it's all going to be okay, and everybody knows it's going to be okay because every time I'm here, it's always all okay. Right?
Yeah, and I'm glad you picked up on that, because I was trying to ask that question and not give away that answer, because when we talk about leadership, or anyone does, people will listen back and think, oh, I need to be the example setter. And they're going to try to pick one archetype to be a leader in, when in reality, those all have to mesh together. I love how you pyramidized and stacked them to help people when they're going into, whether it's their family, their job, their team, or whatever setting it is, they can take those and start to be, okay, am I being this? If I am, then I can move up to the next step on the pyramid. But a lot of people, they try to jump too far into steps where they're not setting examples, or they're trying to be a dictator, but there's no presence, and you see other people just kind of being, well, how can I follow, or what am I going to do with this? I'm very glad you took that kind of open-ended question and spun it and said, hey, this needs to be all together, because you can't have, when you're team setting for you guys, you can't have just one person just trying to call all the shots, because there's so many different things going on. I'd assume in a hostage negotiate situation, if there's other people, it's always a team mentality, and the leader has to be all of those.
Yep. Everybody's got a role, and everybody needs to be able to do every role. And yeah, absolutely. Without
it is hard. It's hard to be sometimes that kind of dictator. I know it sounds harsh, that dictator role where you got to say, hey, we're doing this because this is what we've done, and this is kind of the standard. But if you set everything else, most people should be, oh, Nick knows what he's talking about. I'm following him. I got him. Let's go.
Yeah, sometimes that's absolutely needed. I mean, I know I kind of gave it a little bit of a negative spin, but sometimes that's absolutely needed. It's only negative when that's put out there without the foundation underneath it. And you know who those people are. You've seen them before. The person that talks the expert, but has no actual experience, has no actual credibility, and you can hear it. You can tell. And you can also tell the person that is out there trying to show themselves for more than they actually are. Or it's really easy to see when these archetypes fall apart, when this ladder isn't being progressed in their order. I think if anybody stops and thinks about it, it's glaringly obvious. And you probably think of examples through your own life going back at any point in time of somebody that didn't have this stacked up properly.
And that's where it's great when this isn't just about law enforcement. People can take this into their own lives and say, hey, where can I be a better example to people that might not even know me, but they just see me every day, or have that presence of friends, family, potential clients, people that are even viewing you and I on Instagram, just having this kind of standard of, hey, this is how it's going to run. And then when they look at someone like you and they say, well, why can this guy make a split-second decision and he's done it under the highest pressure? You go back to these pillars, these 4 leadership pillars, and you're, well, hey, this is setting my standard of everything I do.
And everything emanates out from there. Absolutely. Without a doubt. I think it's, once you understand that and you start to build the bottom of the pyramid, I talked to my son about it. It is deciding to be the kind of person that puts their shopping cart back.
Yes.
We'll just start there, and then we'll stack it up from there.
Small decision. And these 4 archetypes of leadership build into kind of the person that someone wants to kind of be embodied. And you talk about resilience. And then when motivation fails, resilience always wins. Dive into how you kind of came from leadership pillars from your experience into this, hey, motivation will fail. We know this. Why resiliency?
I think too much is put on motivation. I think motivation gets too much credit in our society for being a initiator of action. Motivation is an emotion. Motivation is a temporary, fleeting feeling of, hey, I should do this, whatever that thing is. Motivation will fail. Motivation always fails. And if you rely on motivation to get to the end, you're not going to make it, because it will fail as soon as the times get difficult, as soon as the challenge becomes challenging. Now, different people have different levels of motivation. You may be able to sustain it a little bit longer. Your roommate, your friend, somebody may be able to sustain it a little bit longer than you, but at the end of the day, it will fail. It always does. The difference between people who start off motivated and then remain successful is taking that initial motivation and turning it into discipline. Motivation says, hey, I should do this thing. This sounds like a good idea. I should. Discipline says, I will. I committed to doing this thing under these set of circumstances, and I will do this thing regardless of how those circumstances change. In my training with my clients, we remove the motivation as soon as we possibly can. I let you know, hey, you were motivated. That's how you know I even exist, because you looked me up. You were interested in fitness. You were interested in what I offer. You were motivated to find out more. Now that you have found me, we need to throw that motivation away, because it's discipline time. Discipline means we're going to stick to this whether we want to or not, and I'm going to help you, and we're going to progress that way. I think what we call resiliency is the expression of the application of discipline.
Okay. Love it. How do you take someone's motivation away? Because it's one of those things where people hear motivation failed, and I think they get sort of discouraged because I'm sure they look at trainers and coaches, ourselves, and they say, well, how are they doing this every day? They must be super motivated, which yes, we are, but we do also know that we've crossed into that realm of more discipline, resiliency than just being, hey, this motivated us. Back in the day, we used to watch a YouTube video or muscle fitness and we'd be all motivated by looking at an article and doing this, would get us jazzed up.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. People need to realize that is just, it's a stepping stone and it's not going to happen every single day. And you got to change that. How do you take that away from people?
Dude, that took coming to that realization was extremely important because as a trainer yourself, we love fitness. It's what we love. You don't have to tell a chef to make some food. He just loves to do it. You don't have to tell us to go to the gym. I bet you probably want to be there now. I know I do. I would trade, but no one has to tell us to go to the gym. One thing I tell my clients is that you can't compare. This is comparing apples to oranges. Someone told me a long time ago when I was frustrated as a new trainer that one of the things that I needed to understand was that my clients are not me. As much as they are, we're all humans. That difference between I love this and I would do this if you didn't pay me on it, they're not that. That's why they hired you. That's kind of what I'm speaking to is I don't want to, when I say get rid of their motivation, I don't want it to sound or feel I'm popping a balloon and deflating the balloon. It's more along the lines of identifying that motivation is an emotion and that's not going to carry us. And that if you think that that me, the trainer, is some super motivated person, and that's how I maintain my level of fitness, you're flat wrong. Let's go ahead and dispel with that myth from the very beginning. We know from day one, it's not motivation that's going to carry, it's discipline that's going to carry. And Coach Nick's a little weird because he likes to spend all his extra time in the gym. Don't have to set that as your goal, but you need to understand that for you, client, whoever you are, you're going to have to find a level of discipline and a level of commitment that supersedes, exceeds motivation, and is completely disassociated from anybody else and comparing yourself to their level of discipline / motivation, however you're choosing to view it at the moment, whether or not we've switched your perspective just yet. But take it away. But I don't want you to think we pop the balloon and say, no, don't be motivated. We don't care if you're motivated at all. Motivation gets the ball rolling.
All right, a quick step aside to hear from one of our sponsors. If you're looking to improve your nutrition game and get to those goals, Advanced Molecular Labs is dedicated to top quality supplements, whether it's for performance, recovery, sleep, or weight loss. They create supplements based on the latest scientific research. Many people have a supplement shelf in their kitchen, and just like us, we want it to be the best quality products that can support overall health each day. Check out advancedmolecularlabs.com and start getting your nutrition right. Use the code TFL35 for 35% off your order.
But that's it.
Well, that's what I was asking. I was like, is he there session one being like, hey, how is he taking a motivation away? And then I assume he's going to flip into, hey, no, we're going to instill discipline. And within that first couple sessions, that person understands how this is going to run and how it's going to be, because it's not just, I'm motivated, but no, this is going to happen day in and day out.
Yeah, it's not even in the first couple of sessions, dude. I do it before you've even had a session with me.
Oh, really?
It's a conversation that happens. It's off the bat. So thank you for being here. I'm happy that you found me. It's great to meet you. Let's talk. We talk about the goals. I say, awesome. You are motivated for these goals. Now let me get you to understand something. And that's where we go into it, because I want someone to understand from day one that you start working with me. My programs I offer 16-week programs. Outside of working with me in a one-on-one capacity with an indefinite time frame, I offer 16-week programs. I need clients to know before they even start that there's gonna be hard parts in that 16 weeks. It's not gonna be 16 weeks of roses. It's not gonna be 16 weeks of waking up to sunshine and beautiful music and I just can't wait to go to the gym every single day. But those aren't the days that matter. The days that matter are the days that you don't want to go at all. Those days where before you would have, if you were only motivated and your motivation has failed, you would allow yourself to fail. I want my clients to know from Jump Street that we will deploy discipline strategically to get through those moments. We erase, I do my best to erase any of those misconceptions from the very, very beginning.
Love it. Because that's the big thing. People think, oh yeah, workouts are going to be fun and, I'm going to feel good at, how would I say good? You and I feel probably good after beating ourselves down, but people sometimes they want to feel either really beat or they're, oh, I feel good. I got a good workout. They don't want to feel what the hell just happened to me. Setting those standards and you're taking a bit to say, hey, this is what's going to be expected to get you to where you want to be. It's not just, hey, I'm going to wake up motivated every day because nope. There's some workouts. You look at that workout, you're going to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh man, I got to work up to another heavy single. And we're going 12 by 1 on this, on EMOM. You're like, okay, let's go. And then you're in it. You're, oh, you and I, hell, this is on.
Yeah.
For other people are just, okay, this is going to be tough. But once you set that discipline and then they realize they do tough things, motivation, you really don't, I want to say this, I don't want to say people think you don't need it, but it lessens because you're just ingraining that standard of discipline.
Yeah. You're just doing the discipline. You're just doing the thing. And the motivation's, it's past, it's over, it's gone. It wasn't needed.
I'm sure for you, when people reach out and all of a sudden you're like, hey, we're going to have a conversation. And you're, hey, what's my goals? You're setting the standard. Some people are both, holy smoke, what am I getting myself into?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think I'm still good in the net, because the way that I look at that is you're either holy smokes, this is more than I bargained for, and it's obviously going to work for me, or you're holy smokes, this guy is not my cup of tea. And then those folks don't really progress further with me as a client. We establish that off the bat. That enables me to work with highly motivated people that resonate with me in the way that I coach, and allows me to offer the two guarantees that I offer. I offer a 30-day unconditional money back guarantee, and I offer a length of program, complete all the program, hit all your checkpoints. If you're not satisfied, you get triple your money back guarantee.
Oh, wow.
I couldn't offer those if I wasn't setting that standard from the very beginning.
And there's always going to be those people, and I'm very much cut from the same kind of mentality you are, where it's, hey, we're going to do just some hard things, and this is how it's going to be. What you find is, I'm sure you found this, people love it. Certain people will gravitate towards this, and that's just what they want. And I've sometimes struggled younger in my career to be, oh, well, should I be that nice kind of trainer? It's like, no, this is the reputation I want. And that person doesn't want to come back and go train with someone else. I'm okay with it, because I'm going to get people that are going to just be at a different level of discipline, motivation. And when that person is ready, if they're ever ready, they're going to come and get that.
Yep. I think, was it just recently, there's it's a little less than 900,000 personal trainers, fitness coaches, fitness professionals in the United States. Just under, it's 875 or something. That I may not resonate with you, and if I don't, that's fine. You still have a body. That body still needs to get fit. I'll do my very best to help find that person that you do resonate with. We can get you on down towards your goals, absolutely. But I'm going to be authentic to myself, and I'm going to try to attract the people that resonate with my authenticity instead of trying to change to be something else. And I'll tell you, I worked at a gym 2010 in Northern California, and that was one thing I really noticed when I worked there. That particular gym, their whole thing was, we're going to beat you down. Like, hardcore beat you down. Excessive volume. We're not really worried about your fitness level. It's a group class setting. Go. And some people loved it. Like, just be meaner to me. Give me more. Yeah. I want to hurt. Some people really don't, and just got straight turned off by it. They one class, half a class, and they're already gone. But being able to see those distinct differences between how this type of training resonated with some people and how it just absolutely didn't, and then the variance of those people, it's not like it was a special demographic. These were all different kind of people that it either rocks with, or all different kind of people that it either doesn't. But at the end of the day, what I learned, what I took from that was, let me dial in what I can do best. Let me dial in how I resonate best, and let me just put that out full blast. And hopefully, good far, the clients that resonates with will work together and be successful together.
One of those places where people would swear at you and you'd be, yes, I want you to swear or swear at me. Get mad.
One of those places where you have to run a lap around the building. If you don't get back in time, they're locking the doors.
Yeah. But for coaches, us, that's sort of our standard. And I don't know, I would assume you're kind of the same way. We almost want everyone to be at our level and that level. Okay, this is our passion for health, fitness, and attacking the world, when in reality it's not. But I do think, kind of taking that stance, at some point, some of those people that it might not resonate with, they're eventually going to come searching for some of the stuff we said earlier about leadership, about how do I nix motivation. It just might not be their time, but eventually I think they're going to get to that point where they need this and that kind of solid structure in their life. And that's when they're going to be, okay, I'm ready for Coach Nick.
Dude, you're speaking to exactly why my program was developed in the first place. It's because everybody has a body, and biomechanically, hormonally, bioenergetically, everybody's body feels better when you're in better shape. I think that's a generic, general enough statement that we could all, it'd be hard to press to find somebody that doesn't agree with that.
We'd have a long conversation with him.
Everybody has a body. Everybody needs to get in better shape. But sometimes what I saw in that situation and what I saw at that gym was there were people who genuinely needed to be in shape, who could genuinely benefit from the knowledge that we were sharing in that building, who got turned off by the initial delivery, that we might have shut them down to fitness for hopefully not forever, but certainly for a good amount of time. What I aimed to do with this program was, in 16 weeks, ease that person into the love of fitness. It's not, you won't be super sore. You shouldn't be super sore in my program at all. But your brain, hypertrophy crazy, because you're going to grow much knowledge. By the time you finish my 16-week program, you should be able to do your own programming, and you should have an understanding of why that dude's doing that in the gym, or why I see personal trainers doing this in the gym. You might not have, you shouldn't have a bachelor's degree or a master's degree level of understanding of all of it, but you should have beyond an American PE class understanding of how to take care of your own body.
Oh yeah. And that's where, and that's something, because it's, we see it. It's, we always think, oh, people know the things to do and the things to eat, when in reality, most people don't. And it's crazy.
How could they? The industry's been changing much. I mean, I'm 42 years old. And like I said, I've been in love with this since I was 8. Oh my God. Could I tell you how many times the industry has changed? How many things that were fact that have turned or pivoted or new knowledge? We continue. If you're on the forefront of it and you love this, it continues to evolve and change, as any good science discipline does. If we're talking to, Joe Soccer Mom, and she hasn't really done anything for fitness at all in quite some time, and she's going to go bust out the Thigh Master, or search the VCR, she can throw those in. That's where not everybody knows what to do, and it changes fast. I think you have to be empathetic, patient, and I think that everybody deserves that foundational ground level entry point into fitness. I don't know how you started. I was always passionate about health and human performance. And I remember the first time I ever went into the gym to work out my own and feeling completely lost, not in my element. This is a foreign territory. I don't know. These guys are huge. I don't know what to do. Am I doing this? That whole feeling. And if at that point in time, there had been someone to kind of take me under the wing a little bit and say, no, do this, do that, stay away from that. Why don't you don't get on that little ab bench thing over here? Why don't you spend some time on this? Maybe lower the weight a little bit, and let's work on your form. Just some things. It was guidance at the very beginning. I can't say I would have fallen in love with it any faster, but oh man, what a different experience that would have been for me. Absolutely, without a doubt. And I can see how somebody who's a little iffy about fitness, with the guidance with the guidance into the discipline, into the pursuit of fitness, could absolutely fall in love with it. Or, as I said, they can get the door slammed on them when they didn't run around the building fast enough, and and all the downstream effects that come with choosing not to have fitness in your life.
Well, it's tough because there's so many different avenues to how to train this way, that way. I mean, I always love first gym experiences, and do you train younger kids or younger adults too?
I'm actually, one of my passions, project is I'm a swim coach. I've been a swim
Okay.
coach since some form or another since I was 15, 16 years old. I currently have a small team of about 10 or 12 kids between the ages of 12 and 6.
Heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure you get this feeling too when you see some kids working out or swimming and, they're doing some stuff in the gym. And you're, damn, at 16 years old, how come I wasn't doing this? You see kids throwing up some weights or doing some stuff and you look back, you're like, well, if I had a coach, me back when, but then I take a step back and well, that's why I do it. That's why, because if someone was a coach for me at 16, but I can give them now what we've accrued of so many years of knowledge and put it into them, and they're seeing results and they're getting jazzed up about it. And they're, hey, we're seeing results. So we're changing the younger population for the better. And it's great that this field is changing from back in the muscle magazine days where it was, hey, we're doing bodybuilding and get this beef protein mixing stuff. And it's changed a lot. Your 16-week program, where's that start for people? It sounds it's kind of a different than your standard, hey, we're going to start high volume. It sounds you're going to throw kind of the kitchen sink at people. Give me a little insight of what that looks like. You said it's going to challenge your mind and grow it. I want to hear about that too.
I start you off on full on basics. Literally day one is we walk on the treadmill and we do a general dynamic warm up, and that's it. And then it progresses and it builds from there. It goes through 6 phases. Those phases are orientation, foundations, primal patterns, machine training, program design basics, and then a combination phase where we bring it all together and teach you how to do your own programs, work back and forth with you, writing some programs with input, and then you go and do those programs at the end of and then there's continuing support after that. But I'm trying to take people, I wanted to make a program that would be applicable and beneficial to people who had 0 gym experience, and also people who had gym experience and thought they knew everything, but might be a little off. I wanted to be accessible to both. It starts off easy-ish, quote unquote easy. It starts off low volume. It starts off low expectations, low demand. But that's on purpose in order to highlight the way that you feel from the things that we do. Start off with just walking on a treadmill. Let me back up. My program has 3 main components to every single day. It's called 40 days for fitness because you get 40 days worth of work over 16 weeks. Works out to about 3 days a week and a little extra. Every single day, there's 3 components. The first is called a cardio conversation. That is where they walk on the treadmill. We know that's a low intensity, steady state. We're looking for some zone 2 fat burning. I'm just trying to get them to walk for 15 to 20 minutes. We're going to get the base level of steps up. But what the clients get is they get me, the sultry sounds of my voice, in their ears, podcast style, explaining a topic, whatever the topic is for that day. And I've scripted those out. That's everything in my mind that I ran through that I would want to tell a brand new client that they wouldn't need me anymore in about 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
Every day we cover one of those topics. Then there's a learn by doing workout. I say workout to you, and I'll put it in quotes because you wouldn't consider it a workout. I wouldn't consider it a workout. It's more of a learn by doing, going through the motions. Again, they still have me in their ear explaining how to do it, why we're doing it, and then going over some progressions and regressions that would be appropriate for them. Everything's custom tailored to each person. The third phase are called moments of mindfulness. This was real key for me, especially with the law enforcement part, because we'll get into the gym and we'll beat our bodies down and we'll do very little for our mind and our emotions. And that is such a powerful and important component to the success that you're trying to have in the gym. Every single day, there's just a quick couple of questions. I think the smallest one is 3. I think the largest one is 13. And they are good way to think about them is journaling prompts or self-reflective questions, just things that I take from my degree is health education and behavior. And I take that and I take some of the psychology from peer support and some of the psychology from hostage negotiation and try to get people to identify within themselves what have been their typical obstacles or mental frameworks that have been standing in the way of them being in the shape that they want to be in. I try to get people to re-identify as fit people, not out of shape people trying to get fit. Those are the three components of the program. We progress through the phases that by the time you get to the very, very end, you understand all the primal patterns of movement. You understand core use of most common machinery. You've dipped your toe into tempo. You understand eccentrics, concentrics, isometrics, things like that. And you are able to design for yourself a good program. Or one of the activities that we do is we will go into, I'll have my client bring a program out of a muscle and fitness or a men's health or a muscle and fitness, wherever they find one of those little sample articles or sample workouts, and we evaluate it and then we tweak it for them.
Nice.
I think that I heard this said once before, and please, I don't mean it offensively in any way, shape, or form. Is that a good personal trainer works for the next re-sign, and a good coach works to make themselves irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's my goal is for my clients. It's a terrible business model, but my goal is for my clients not to re-sign with me because they don't need me anymore.
And I'm sure there's people that they don't need you, but they want to be just pushed by you mentally more.
Well, that's right? What it really boils. Yeah.
Yeah. There's
really
a lot of people. Yeah. I mean, clients, athletes that they're, hey, I know these programs by the back of my hand, and I know this, and this, but I want you there to just, when it gets hard, I want you to just make things more challenging and harder in that moment. Or, this is why I show up. And I always take that as a compliment. That's great because anyone can really, as person, you said there's 900,000 personal trainers or coaches.
Yeah.
Most people can coach an exercise. They might not know what they're doing with it. They'll coach it and someone will get some sort of benefit. But when you get to the mental aspect and the mindset side of things with people, that just, it resonates, and that's why we do what we do.
That's the real thing.
Yeah.
I mean, if we really get into it, that's it. With guys that I worked with, they spent so much time focused on the job, and then the job left many scars that they didn't address and just either cover up with, whatever vice, sports memorabilia shopping, alcohol, drugs, women, whatever, whatever it is, covered it up instead of dealing with it.
The mindset training and how people get more of, when you look at people, law enforcement, they're doing all this hard training and they find their vices. People do that with the gym too. And I think they use, I'm going to go beat myself up. It's a hard workout. And we've done that too. I love a good, hey, this workout's going to leave you on the floor, but can't do that every day. And then people look for this, hey, I got to do something crazy hard every day. Yeah. And they look for that satisfaction out of it. When in reality, it's more, they're trying to look for this, how do I get my mind with the discipline, the overall daily habits, my own leadership, to hold themselves and say, hey, we can go to places, but we don't need the advice to try to find it.
Yeah. I think that the gym and fitness offers an avenue to start reconstructing many of the other aspects of a complete picture, the mental health and the emotional health, the foundation of the discipline, the act of doing a repetitive motion with incremental improvements. I mean, these are the types of things that teach structure, that teach discipline, that then provide the foundation for the emotional resilience. Oh, I remember what I was saying. Those guys that I worked with, they're bankrupt, man. And I don't mean financially. These are guys we worked in California. They got good pensions, but at the end of their careers, many PTSD incidents that you can't name them. Second, third marriage, if married at all, or on the cusp of divorce, kids that don't talk to them, and health that's declining from doing shift work and not taking care of themselves properly. And they end up having poured themselves into this career, and they end up bankrupt. What I wanted to do was come at fitness from a standpoint of showing how it can build everything, showing how it can build wealth, real wealth. I call it emotional wealth. We call it emotional wealth within my program. I may be thinking of a better name for it than that, but I view it as actual wealth. I can have stacks of cash in the bank, but more valuable to me is being able to pick my son up. He's 3 years old, being able to pick him up and hold him and talk to him. And that is priceless. If I'm going to be in pursuit of the financial or be in pursuit of the next level of advancement within my career or the next rank or close this case, or I just got to catch this bad guy and miss my son going from 3 to 4 and 4 to 5 and 5 to, but it's okay. We'll be friends when he's a teenager. You might as well. I don't know how to quantify that for people because you're missing out on something priceless. You either get it or you don't. And trying the mindset moments of my program, try to get people to pull that out and highlight what's real and why are we actually really working out. I was in Florida on Memorial Day weekend at the beach. I took my shirt off without shame. That's one part of fitness. But more valuable and more important to me is that my son asked me to carry him back to the car, and I did it without hesitation. And I made a vow when he was born that I will pick him up every time he asks me to pick him up, because I don't know when the last one will be. And one day there will be a last one. He's not going to be 30 asking me to carry him to the car. Since I don't know when that day is, I want to be strong enough to handle it until that day comes. Because to me, that's where real wealth is. That's priceless experience, a priceless moment. And if I train and I have myself physically capable to be ready for that, then when the time comes, that's not something that I ever have to sacrifice if I'm intentionally preparing for it.
Absolutely. Well said. Couldn't have ever thought or said it better. I think that's a good place to wrap up. I know I respect Coach's time. We're up against the hour. I know either you probably got something going on, depending on what time zone you're on, the hour. I'm always in that mindset. I see 3 minutes to go. Oh, we got to change. And I don't know about you, but I always set my watch for 2 minutes. When I hear that beep, I know, okay, I got to start wrapping up a session. I got 2 minutes. I'm going to make sure people's time is precious because I understand. But I appreciate you coming on. That was awesome. And just wrapping up, where can people find you? Website, Instagram?
Yeah, you can I'm on Instagram as The Real Coach Nick. That's where you can find me. I'm The Real Coach Nick, or you can go coachnick.fitness for the web presence. Obviously, I'm always trying to connect with people on LinkedIn. I have a private account, but unless we share the last name or you went to school with me, don't worry about trying to do that one.
Awesome, man. I appreciate all the time. We'll be in contact with, getting this out, getting it on our platform and all that stuff.
Awesome. That sounds really good. I appreciate it. It was a great conversation. Nice talking to you.
Awesome, man. Have a great rest of the day, and we'll be in email contact.
Sounds good. Take care. Nice to meet
You too, man.
Bye.
Matt Gluckman and Eric Menchie here from Think Fitness Life. Our entire careers have been dedicated to fitness, particularly how the mind helps the body. We've been around gyms and nutrition strategies for 25 plus years collectively, and nothing harms or helps better than your own mind, untrained or trained. Pushing beyond your limits, overcoming whatever's thrown your way, and making the decision to show up day in and day out as a lifestyle takes more soul than sand. And what I mean by that is when you can get your mindset and heart leading you consistently in the direction of your goals and dreams, well, it's just a matter of time before you have the performance, physique, or quality of life you're yearning for. See, your thoughts will stem from your beliefs, which will then lead you to action, which develop into your behavior and ultimately lead you to results. It's really that simple. Our process takes time and it takes open communication. It's amazing what pops up along the fitness journey to betterment, and we can be there every step of the way. To learn more or apply for coaching, visit www.thinkfitnesslife.com. Start recreating your life today.